Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and it is Wednesday, so here I am to answer your burning questions. I will also answer some questions that have not been set on fire. But first, just in case you didn't know, last week I began a new video series on my channel. It's called Herbert Erpaderp's Quick Tips, because I couldn't think of anything better. My friend did suggest Herbert's Voluptuous Tips, and maybe that would have been better. But Quick Tips works. It does what it says on the tin. These videos will be short demonstrations of tricks and techniques and maybe looking at some relevant products. It's more or less for when people ask me to do a tutorial on a technique or how to use a product or something like that. This way I can do a quick video about it without having to do so instead of something else I might be more excited to do in my regular Monday videos. The first video was uploaded last Wednesday. You should be able to see a clickable video linky thingy on screen now, and new ones will be uploaded every second Wednesday. And of course, patrons will get to see these videos a little bit early. They'll be available on Mondays for patrons. These videos will kind of be by viewer request, so if you have any ideas for techniques or anything you would like me to demonstrate, leave them in the comments, either here or in the Quick Tips videos themselves. I will find them and add them to the list. Okay, on to the questions and comments. Harry Davies says, have you seen the new plastic Battlefront box sets and would you plan on getting one of them? Although we have seen you build almost most of the models anyway. I did just recently see those new box sets. They do look really good and I quite like that they come with the rulebook as well as an army list book. You're right that I have built most of the models in these box sets, so because of that I probably won't be picking one up. It's not really a good use of money at the moment. The disappointing thing I discovered when looking at Battlefront's site is that Grimble's Beasts, Ram's Charge, and whatever the Russian one were called have been discontinued. I guess it does make sense. These new box sets are a little better because of the included books. The PATTON'S Eagles box looks to be exactly the same as the Grimble's Beasts box, with the addition of the books, which I think makes it a lot better, but I am a little bit disappointed by the German one. You may have heard me say that I plan to get Ram's Charge. That box had the plastic Panzer IVs and Rommel's Wolves doesn't. The Panther and Jagdpanther models are really nice, but I do already have them. I think now instead of getting Ram's Charge, I will just pick up a box of their plastic Panzer IVs. Better news to be found on the Battlefront site was that they will now sell single sprues of their plastic models, which is really cool if you don't want a box of 5 tanks, or maybe you want 6 or 7 or something. I actually learned this from Fog of War. He makes videos about Flames of War and I think they're quite good. There's a link in the description, so if you're into Flames of War, go and check him out. Something else I learned from him is that Battlefront is going to be releasing a plastic M10/M36 kit. It looks like they're being released as both the Achilles expansion for tanks and as a Flames of War kit. I will have to pick some of those up. They look like they will be much better than the metal and resin version. Pug, who I choose to believe is an actual pug, asks if I could maybe make some plane models. I have answered this before, and I do still intend to make some plane kits. Thing is, planes just don't quite excite me as much as tanks do. That said, on my desk I have my Flames of War Typhoon and a 144th scale B-24 kit. Not saying they're coming really soon, but one day. Pug also says, can you do a video on building a model and in the same video paint and weather it? For most of the models I do, I think that would make the videos really long, and I kind of prefer to make my videos as short as I reasonably can. Also, because I'm such a slow painter, it would take a really long time for any of the videos to be finished. I prefer doing it separately because that way I don't feel rushed with painting a model to get videos done. I like making videos frequently, but I wouldn't enjoy painting if I had to rush and try to adhere to timelines, especially weekly. It would make painting feel more like a job, only with almost no pay. That said, in looking at the Flames of War Typhoon, I will probably build and paint that in the same video, because there's next to nothing to assembling Flames of War aircraft. I will one day try out some Tamiya paints just out of curiosity, and I probably will put some more War Thunder videos up someday. I've not played it for a while, and I currently don't have a GPU in my PC, so it kind of sucks for gaming, but that's okay. It's good to take a break from gaming sometimes. Conan the Barbarian says, Panther G was it? I'm assuming this is a guess at the new Warlord model I ordered. Panther G is incorrect. Conan also says, applying static grass tip. Get a balloon, rub it on your head to get a nice bit of static charge, and hover it over the static grass. Works a charm. Does that work? It must. I can see myself just bursting the balloon on the first model that has something pointy on it and scaring the living shit out of myself. I don't know if that's better or worse than electrocuting myself with the static grass applicator. Jacob says, I see what looks like tracks on the bottom, so maybe a tank? Yup, it's definitely a tank. Partial points. Some dude says, you from Australia? I'll try to do it in a more Australian accent. You from Australia? I certainly am. I guess it surprises some people because I don't really have the stereotypical Australian accent. I see this as a good thing. Hansol Kang says, when you play Flames of War Soviets, what kind of army do you usually play? I've never really had a standard kind of list that I bring, but it's almost guaranteed that I'll bring a tank-heavy list, because tanks are rad. I think a lot of people try to tailor their lists to be competitive. One of the reasons I suck at games is I don't really tend to do things like that. Usually I'll have a tank that I've just painted or just want to play with, and I'll build a list especially so I can bring those tanks. I don't really care if it makes me get overrun by infantry and lose the game, I just like bringing my tanks and having fun. Of course, playing with other guys that also like going tank heavy makes it a bit more balanced, I guess. Yet another scout says, out of curiosity, have you or plan on painting any tanks based off or inspired by Girls und Panzer, St. Gloriana? I've not done so, though I will probably paint a pink M3 Lee one day. Not only because of the one in Girls und Panzer, but I just like pink tanks. They're manly and tough. Your question reminded me of the St. Gloriana tanks. I think they were Churchills. They look like plain old Churchills, just they have a teapot and teacup insignia, which I find really amusing. I'd actually be pretty tempted to paint one of those if I had the decals. Girls und Panzer is one of the only animes I've ever really enjoyed. The tanks are really nicely drawn, and I really enjoy the ridiculous concept of the show. If you've not checked it out, do so. You may enjoy it, even if, like me, you're not an anime fan. Boon Gaming YT says, I hope the King Tiger will be painted soon, as I need some inspiration for mine too. Smiley face. Cheers. P.S. Any idea when it might be painted? Smiley face. To be honest, it's going really slowly. I want to do a really good job with it, so I'm not rushing at all. I am working on it though. I've just been a little bit slack with it lately. On my Italeri Panzer III video, Boer Harms says, nice model. About the Scherzen, what is stopping you from making up a story like this? The crew of the Alf's J Panzer III found a pair of Scherzen from a wrecked Panzer III and put them onto their own tank. That covered light is called a no-tech light, by the way. Cool, I will try to remember that it's a no-tech light. It's not a very German sounding name though, is it? Is it German? Anyway, it's good to learn new things, so thanks. I could make up a story like that, but then I wouldn't have the justification for buying another Panzer III to build with the Scherzen, as flimsy a justification as it is. That's not a bad idea really, and I do enjoy concocting stories for why things have happened on my models. Fog of War says, the domed thingy on the hull rear under the exhaust is the cover for the hole for the manual crank. I've seen lots of amusing images of hapless Panzertruppen with the manual crank trying to turn over frozen engines on the Russian steppe. This looks like a nice model, but I think the road wheels melded to the hull would be a deal breaker for me. I would have to build one with Scherzen. I did have a suspicion that dome was some kind of crank hole cover or something like that. Starting a tank that way sounds like a painful experience at the best of times. During a Russian winter? That sounds hilarious. Not for the poor sod doing the cranking, of course, but for those observing, probably pretty funny. The melded wheels really are a bit of a disappointment. I kind of assumed they do that to simplify assembly, but considering they go to the effort of molding some nice detail on both sides of the tracks and having those in multiple parts, I don't see why they wouldn't have separate wheels. If not for the Panzer III, then they really should have at least done it with the tanks that have interleaved road wheels. At least the Scherzen is an option though. You could probably also get away with just covering it in mud. If you just cake it in there, you would never know. I personally don't like making my tanks super muddy though, so I think I'm just going to try using paint to hide it. Ethan Ton says, the background music you use is lovely and is what Panera Bread should play. They should take a lesson from you. I don't think we even have Panera Bread here, and I'm not sure I'm even saying it right, so I have no idea what the place is like. If they want a tip, they should go to the YouTube audio library to source their music. If Panera Bread are watching, and let's face it, they probably are, I will accept payment for this advice in the form of food. The Agile Aardvark, which is a great name. The Agile Aardvark says, maybe you want to up your volume level when mixing the audio to the video. When one of your videos ends and the audio is set up so I can understand you, the ad, yeah, no blocker here, of the next one blasts my eardrums near the point of no return, because your audio level is so low compared to what the advertiser thinks is a normal audio level for YouTube videos. This is some good feedback, thank you. Like I said in text form, the audio is pretty loud to me when I edit the audio, though it might be just on my system, and I'm not listening to it with any media of a different volume before or after, so it's kind of hard to tell how it will play with other media. Also, I don't know if YouTube does anything to the audio when they process the videos after it's uploaded. That would be interesting to know though. Ads are often really loud because being obnoxious and loud is apparently a good way to draw attention to your product, so I encounter this problem myself too, and it certainly is annoying. The reason I'm mentioning this in Ask a Herbert Erpaderp is because I would like more feedback from everyone on this. On average, are my videos too quiet? Too loud? Let me know in the comments. Sure, it's easy enough to turn your volume up if they're too quiet, but it really is annoying when you get your ears blasted by the next video or an ad being really loud. I could easily boost the volume a little bit more, but I would like to know how much of an issue this is before I suddenly start making videos that are way too loud. Also, thanks to everyone that doesn't use an ad blocker. I know ads are annoying, but the reality is they help pay for content that is free. I mean, I only get teeny tiny bits of money from them myself, but it does add up and it can be really helpful. So thanks for not using an ad blocker. Cooper Hamlin says, Math with Herbert. I'm a good mathsman. I know how to numbers good. I always read this as silver lining, but your silver lining says, how does this guy only have 1800 subs? Herbert, you create really good content, keep it up. I think 1800 subs is pretty good. That number is rising fairly steadily. It's getting closer to 1900 now, though more is good. If you want to help the channel grow, you can always do things like sharing my videos in places where they'll be relevant. Of course, don't spam them because that's just obnoxious, but sharing is helpful. And I guess that segues right into the end part of the video. If you like the video, click the thumbs up button. If you thought it was a bit crap, then click the thumbs down button. And as always, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, they should be placed in the comments section. If you want something answered specifically in Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, post it in the Ask a Herbert Erpaderp comments, even if it pertains to another video. I do obviously collect comments to answer from other videos, but I'll be more likely to answer it if it's in the Ask a Herbert Erpaderp comments section. The two videos you can see on the screen now are the two most recent videos on my channel. The first quick tips video and my Italeri 28mm scale Panzer III build video. If you've not seen them, feel free to click and go watch. If you really like the videos I make, please consider helping to support the channel via Patreon at patreon.com/HerbertErpaderp. Any amount pledged is certainly appreciated, and you'll get to see my videos a little bit early and take part in patron-only polls. Anyone that pledges $10 or more a month will receive a personalized thank you card. I'll be back again soon. So, until then, happy modeling and thanks for watching. Farewell.